Good evening. Welcome to the Canby City Council regular meeting for September 7th, 2016. If you will please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Father in heaven, I thank you for the wonderful city of Canby that you have given us and allowed us to be part of for this season in our lives. And we just thank you for all of the blessings that you heap upon us. We ask for your wisdom and your discernment and your courage as we govern this city. We thank you for helping us to be good stewards in all ways of it. And Lord, I ask you tonight especially to be with the families of Sydney and Skylar and Garrett, young people that we lost way too early. And we ask for your peace and your grace and your love to be with their family and friends as they grieve. I ask your blessing upon this city and your protection upon it and upon our fair state and our country. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we move into our proclamations this evening, it looks like we have a band of scouts here this evening joining us. Normally I would give you guys some fair warning, but we're just going to launch into it. And if one or two of you would like to come up and introduce your troop and what you're here working on. Don't all rush up at the same time.
We're Troop 266, and we're here for one of our merit badges, the communication merit badge.
And what is your name, sir?
My name is Tate.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being here, gentlemen. Thank you. We'll try to make it educational and entertaining this evening. So next up on the agenda is the proclamation for the POW MIA Recognition Day Proclamation. Whereas the United States of America has participated in many wars, calling upon its sons and daughters to fight for their country. And whereas American men and women have been held captive by hostile powers during their military service, and whereas many American prisoners of war were subjected to harsh and inhumane treatment by their captors, which often resulted in death, and whereas Americans are still listed as missing and unaccounted for, and the families and friends of these missing Americans, as well as their fellow veterans, still endure uncertainty concerning their fate, and whereas the sacrifices of Americans still missing are deserving of national recognition and support for continuing priority efforts to determine their fate. And whereas the City of Canby is proud to join with other cities in the state of Oregon and the nation in honoring these still missing. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hodson, Mayor of the City of Canby, hereby proclaim September 16th, 2016 as POW MIA Recognition Day in Canby, and encourage all citizens to join in this observance given under my hand this 7th day of September 2016. And we have some wonderful people here. Sir, how are you?
Fine, sir. How are you? My pleasure as always. Thank you very much. Yes, I would.
Thank you.
My name is Pat Shower. I represent the Canby Aurora VFW Post 6057 as well as the Vietnam Air National Memorial here in town. I'd just like to thank the city as always for your graciousness and your backing of our programs and stuff. And this means a lot to us. It really does. It'd be nice that if I could live to see the day where we never had one of these again, to where all of our people came home. But thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Introduce Irene Bashir with the VFW Auxiliary.
Thank you, Pat Shar. He's also the chairman of the memorial, and this is a special POW MIA day for us. I'd like to introduce you to Don Rogers, who has been the promoter, organizer of the Record Bonanza at the county fair. He is also Coast Guard, and he is one of the few that were school chums of Warren E. Newton, who is the statue figure at the memorial. And we had Jim Newton was to be here, but he came. So he was the other person. It was childhood friends, school chums, as was Jim Burdett and the former chief, Jerry Geiger. And I'd like to read you
Thank you, sir.
a piece that Jim Newton did for our brochure
Thank you.
that we had, pushing for funds and monies and support for the memorial. This came out when we broke ground in 2006. To Warren, your picture was missing from the high school annual, like so many other young men and women serving our country. Missing, but not forgotten. Now you're in a foreign country, still missing for so many years, but not forgotten. Your face is back on this statue. It represents all who have served and all who are still missing, in all the wars, in all the foreign countries, but never forgotten. Thank you, Warren. Thank you all, Jim Newton. And the reason why I read that quote from Jim in our brochure is when we, as you look at the 2016 POW-MIA poster from the DoD, Department of Defense, when we dedicated 5 years ago the memorial, August 6, 2011, they had a POW-MIA team go out specifically to look for Warren E. Newton and the crew of the helicopter that went down in January 1968. So the window of searching for them was August 6th, the day we dedicated the memorial, through August 22nd of 2011. And they took a number of years, and it was the most amazing thing. Last year, in the early spring, they found the remains of the rest of the crew members. They notified Warren E. Newton's half-brother that we didn't know who existed till a year later. His name is Ken Cluck. He's still alive. His mother was still alive. And they got notification that Warren and everybody was found. So they had a full military ceremony at Arlington. It is so exciting. June 17th, 2015. We didn't know about it till this year, in January, February, from the president of the Living Memorial in Washington Park, because they etched his name as recovered on the MIA wall. Wow. So we're talking about, whoa, it gets better. The Army buddies, when we had dedicated, we found Army buddies up in Washington and California of Warren E. Newton, and the school chums here, Don, Jim, and Jerry, and they all came to the dedication, and first time they met school chums of Warren E. Newton and the Army buddies. They exchanged pictures, and we thought that was it. But no, the remains, all 4 crew members were put in one casket and buried all at once, and everyone got to meet each other again in Arlington. So here comes Pat Schauer, our service officer and chairman of the memorial, says, hey, I got an email from some guy in New York, and he had Warren E. Newton's bracelet that he had all these years, 47 years, wow. And he said, I got this guy's bracelet. Is there a family member that would like it? So he got a hold of him, and we've been trying to get a hold of him, and I got a hold of Ken Cluck, and he says, I would love to have my brother's bracelet back. So this, when you look at the poster, it says, fulfilling our nation's promise, and when the memorial was dedicated, August 6, 2011, Mike Brashears had said, a promise made, a promise kept to the World War II veterans and to the veterans that followed. And we are so happy in the town of Canby that we had a full circle of Warren E. Newton, one of our kids here, to come home. And I really wanted to thank you and bring that up to you.
Wow, thanks, Irene. That's amazing. I remember the dedication to the memorial, and the turnout was, it filled, blocks down in front of the high school and down the memorial, and so that is great to be able to close that circle. So thank you, Irene, for that. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Our next proclamation this evening is Canby Public Library Day. Whereas the origins of our library reach back to 1937, when 3 members of the Canby Women's Civic Club went door to door gathering donations and books to start a community library. And whereas thanks to their diligent efforts, the Canby Public Library was established in Canby's newly built City Hall on September 16, 1937. And whereas since 1937, the library has improved the quality of life in Canby by serving as a center of community life and discourse, offering opportunities for people to enrich their lives through educational, cultural, and artistic experiences. And whereas libraries create better citizens and safeguard the future of our community by enabling individuals to make informed decisions about their self-governance, by promoting unrestricted access to information, by supporting print and technological literacy, lifelong learning, and the free expression of ideas. And whereas over the course of many years, Canby has been well served by its public library, which continues to make Canby a great place to live and work. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Hodson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Canby, do hereby proclaim September 16th as Canby Public Library Day and encourage all residents to take advantage of the many resources the library offers and to take part in the many activities being held to commemorate Canby Public Library Day, given unto my hand the 7th day of September 2016 in the city of Canby, Oregon. And I think we have a few library participants here. Irene, you're the official recipient here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there's that for you.
Great, good things are happening.
There are huge things happening.
That's right.
Quick photo here.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's not focusing.
I have that problem sometimes.
Well, let's try this again. Oh, it's perfect.
You want to mention any activities coming up?
There's a lot going on. Things are slowing down with the construction, but we'll have opening day celebration on October 15th. We've got a lot of good activities coming up. It's great.
I know. It'll be fantastic. Thank you. Great. Opportunity for communications. Mr.
Yes,
City
it is
Manager.
both a pleasure and I would add a relief for me to be introducing to you Julie Blums, who's in the audience right now, our new finance director.
Yay.
I stole Julie from Woodburn and very, very timely to get her away so that they couldn't keep her as their finance director in the future. So I'm very grateful for that.
Mayor and councilors, I'm so excited to be here. I love the community here. I live in Sherwood. I worked in Sherwood for 10 years. Prior to that, I worked for PERS for 8 years.
It's not your fault.
I know. So I like the small town feel. As I've gotten older in my career, I have become more discerning in where I work. And when this position came open, it was just, for me, a perfect fit, and I was really excited. And I've been here 2 days, so I'm still learning. And but so far, everybody has been very gracious, and the staff is awesome here. So I'm really excited. Glad to have you.
Welcome, Julie. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can we make a note of history here that this will be the last employee that we will hire that will have worked in both the old and new City Hall?
There you go.
That is true.
Rick is determined that will be the case.
And you don't know how much we're happy to see you.
Very
One
much
of us
so.
in particular.
Well, you do have friends, so they're happy too.
One of the irons to put out of that fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does that mean I can put a few more in, Mr. Mayor?
Not yet. Keep sending them to me, and we'll line them up.
Keep stoking.
Any other communication pieces?
No, I don't.
All right.
You
So
know, I might actually have one. I didn't know if it would be a good time to bring it up or not. I had spoken through email with Councilor Height about there was legislation, or not legislation, but case law that came out August 16th that had to do, it was called U.S. versus McIntosh.
Okay.
And it has to do with medical marijuana in particular.
Okay.
So it was just a point. It kind of coincides with the idea that the DEA here recently also refused to deschedule marijuana, so it's still a Schedule 1 as far as the federal government goes. So right now, this status of the law is, in Oregon, recreational marijuana is legal for 21 and over. for recreational use, and you can grow up to 4 plants in your home. Medical marijuana is still the same as it's been for years, but federally, it's still a federal crime, and it's still a federal felony, and so I think that jams up a lot of people because businesses can't, get bank loans and such like that. But basically, the case law that came out recently basically referred back to the district level at the federal level, which is the trial court level at the federal level. The idea of if somebody's following the medical marijuana only idea, they're somewhat protected federally because the federal government doesn't appropriate money towards the prosecution of people who are within the regime of a state, like the legal regime of medical marijuana. And so you're on the safest ground still if you're following medical marijuana at the state level, whatever state you're in. So you'd have to follow Oregon medical marijuana state law. Recreational is still up in the air, so it's still a federal crime. They don't seem, right now by kind of proclamation, they're choosing to let the states have their experiment, but everything's the same as it has been. And the case law just repeated that this last couple of weeks. So just to bring you guys up to speed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Great. Any other thoughts or pieces there? No? Okay. It's our first opportunity for citizen input and community announcements. Generally, these are on non-agenda items. We have a couple of yellow cards for an item later in the agenda, which we'll get to. But if there's anybody that has a community announcement or anything that they'd like to bring forth, please fill out a yellow card real quick, and we can let you be heard. All right, seeing none, we will move forward. Mayor's business. Feels like I haven't been here in a while, which, come to think of it, I haven't. So it's good to be back. Just a couple of things more announcements than anything else initially to start with. Coming up here this weekend, we have the Canby Garden of the Arts Festival here at Waite Park, and that's going to be on Saturday starting at 10 o'clock, and I believe goes till 5. They're going to have a great little passport tour where you can start there at the art park and then go around downtown and collect stamps from area businesses, and once you're done, you can put it in for a drawing for a couple of prizes, and there's going to be a ton of entertainment and things going on, so definitely come downtown and check that out. Also on Saturday is the Canby Cares Health Fair, which is going to be held at Canby Foursquare, and that starts at 10 a.m. and goes until, I believe, 2 o'clock. And they're going to have just various health organizations out there for, vision screening, hearing tests, other medical pieces there. So if you're in need or want to check that out, please mark it on your calendar. They do need volunteers still, so if those of you here or at home want to help out, please show up. I'm sure they will take the extra hands. And then on Sunday is the 15th anniversary for September 11th, so 9/11, and the fire department will be holding a remembrance ceremony at the fire station starting at 8 o'clock promptly, so I encourage everyone to come down for that. It's a great memorial and one of the few that are have been erected in really the country, and it's pretty impressive. So definitely a solemn day for sure, but if you can come down, it'd be great. I was not here, or I think between meetings we had our Canby's big weekend, and I want to compliment the city staff on the street party and those that organized and volunteered. It was a fantastic turnout and a great event. Couldn't have asked for a better evening to have a street dance and party, and I think I saw most everyone there, but yeah, it was a great event, so thank you to Jamie and Renata, who and a number of community members that worked very hard to pull this off and clean up and set up and all that, so thank you for that. On the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee front, so C4, we just had our meeting last week because of the way the calendar fell. So just a couple of things of note. Had some conversation about the county gas tax still that's coming up on the ballot. There was still some back and forth between some of the mayors and the Board of County Commissioners. Big piece of note for the October meeting, so that's the first Thursday. It starts at 6:45 for those of you that might be interested in coming. There's going to be a panel on housing conversation. So Commissioner Savas and myself will be hosting that panel at the county level, and so it should be a full house, so come early, grab a seat. But we're having panelists from across kind of the housing industry and whatnot to talk about kind of what's going on and what's the state of affairs in that, and kind of what's the county looking at, and even some of the cities that are looking at different things. So I know that that's been a conversation topic that we've been having as a council. So again, that's the first Thursday in October at 6:45, and it'll probably be the whole agenda, and it'll probably go till 9 o'clock. So bring dinner. And I think that's all that I have for right now, and if I think of anything else, I'll come back around. Councilor Rocha.
Nothing for me tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Parker.
I've got a twofer here. What does cemetery and bicycles have in common? That the Bicycle Committee is working with the Historic Review Committee on developing a bicycle route of historic cemeteries in Canby. That's one. Two, then the Historic Review Committee, which is, I see tonight on our consent agenda, we have an application which further enriches that committee with another Gold Star appointment. But they are going to work on Baker Prairie Cemetery and do some restoration there. And in October, and I'll get the dates for everybody, there's actually going to be a training with a cemetery curator who will instruct us on how not to screw things up. And so one of the things that both the Bicycle Committee and the Historic Review Committee is excited about is that this Baker Prairie Cemetery is right on the what I call the bike highway out to Knight's Bridge and so on. So we're excited about that. Big night out, yes. I wanted to give a shout out to, I'm getting tired of just saying Greg Perez helped us, but he was there from the beginning until end, so thank you. I made a special effort to visit Ken Aragotic at Backstop, and he said that it was the best weekend he's had in 2 years. So he was very happy with the spillover business effects of it, and I think all of us were there, and we got some pretty good feedback, given the fact that really there were some complex elements and new things that were being added, and seemed to come out pretty well. So that's it, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Greg Perez seems to be the Mr. Do-It-All.
He was recognized by the Chamber a few years ago, was he not?
Yes, he was. Yep. He's definitely been man about town in the last couple of months, for sure. Councilor Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a liaison report. I also went to the Canby's Big Night Out. It's a fantastic turnout. I'm always impressed by the works of Jamie and crew and Greg Perez. And I even saw Mariah Dodson came back to visit us.
She did.
So that was fun. But I do have one community announcement. The American Legion Community Breakfast resumed this Sunday morning from 8:30 to 11. So after the 9/11 memorial, you can come have some breakfast. And the benefit, it's the auxiliary does it this time, and the funds benefit the Mount Hood Search and Rescue Team. It's an annual benefit that they do every September. So that is concludes my report.
All right.
Gravy is back.
Gravy is back. Thank you. Council President Dale.
Good and bad.
That is good and bad, I know.
Mr. Mayor, likewise, I attended the street dance and the car show for Canby's Big Weekend. It was amazing. I believe they set a new record in car enrollment.
They did.
Just beyond all expectation. It was kind of interesting. the night before the car show, I was checking out with my groceries at Cutsforce. It was quite late, and the clerk asked me if I was going to go to the car show tomorrow. And I said, yes, indeed, of course, everybody is. And he goes, you know, I asked Frank, Mr. Cutsforce, how many cars we're going to have. And he said, over 500. And he looks at me and he goes, is he pulling my leg? And I said, oh, Junior. He's serious. And the clerk was like, I guess I better go. I said, yeah, you're going to see history.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. I have it on good authority. That is one of the premier car shows in the Northwest now. So a very amazing thing. And for Councilor Parker, I knew you'd like this comment. I was visiting with someone at the street dance, and they, of course, were giving the city council all the credit for the big event, which obviously I accepted. And, no, I pointed out Jamie and Greg to him as the head of all the volunteers. But they said, thank you. You have given us no reason to leave Canby for the weekend. And that was very much the goal of the weekend. So I wanted to pass that on to everyone, and to Jamie and to Greg and to all those who participated. They were just having a wonderful time. And that was a local Canby family that knows us well. So. Lastly, Mr. Mayor, on the Canby utility front, just wanted to remind everyone that they are offering a rebate program on filters. If you don't like the taste and smell of your water, although we're starting to get back into the rainy season, they do have a rebate program. It's $25 for residences and up to $200 for commercial sites, and all the details are on canbyutility.org. So take advantage of that if you're inclined. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Councilor Height.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
So with the library, at the last library board meeting, they talked about several things. One is they're updating policies and procedures for the new building. So spaces like the children's area, meeting room policies, because they haven't really had those sorts of things before. So it's time to develop policy. So that's exciting new territory to be in. And there's a new newsletter that they're putting out. It's going to come out every 2 months, and it's in collaboration with the library itself, the Friends of the Library, and the Foundation. Other Oregons, like the Oregon City Public Library does this, and others I know, but it's helpful. There's often, this is text heavy, but there will be a lot of pictures, graphics, readable, and there's a lot that's going to be going on with the new library. So really excited to see that newsletter come out. And then in terms of the closure, so September 17th, Saturday, September 17th is the last day at this location here. And then October 8th is the soft opening for the new library, and that's on a Saturday. Soft opening meaning it's open for business as usual, but of course the grand opening, which our library director mentioned a little while ago, is October 15th. So that's, I think it's 10 to 4 p.m., so it's an all-day thing. I have some notes on it. There'll be crafts, tours on the hour, live music, kids stuff, like face painting, and even a comedy show at the end from 3 to 4 for all ages. So it's kind of an all-day affair, so please come and enjoy that. We're excited about that. In terms of your books, though, it's a little complicated. They won't have a book drop. So if you have books checked out from Link Libraries while the library is closed, you can hold on to them because they're automatically going to be renewed during that period. If you really want to get rid of them, you can take them to Oregon City or Wilsonville or wherever. But they will be automatically renewed. If you want to put items on hold, you'll have to go pick them up at a different location because there just won't be a library here to get our books from. So if you've got questions on that, you can talk to the staff at the library. But you get a free, 3 weeks for your old books. So there you go. The Canby Adult Center, at their meeting, I learned that their monthly trips, they have a lot of trips for senior citizens, and they pack up their passenger van. It's been very popular lately, and it's growing in popularity, which is interesting. So there's a diverse and active group that's now involved there. Also, they've got a memoir writing group, which I found interesting, 10 people showing up routinely for that. That might be a good library connection to tie in at some point. Anyway, some good programming going on there. And they're having their annual meeting on September 14th for those of the public that are interested. So it's at the Canby Adult Center, 1 p.m. And they're also having their big volunteer appreciation barbecue on September 17th. It's a drop-in from 4 to 7. There's a lot of volunteers there at the Adult Center. So come in and drop in for that. There's some music. And they had a cooling center, you know, that really hot weekend, August 20th. They experimented, I think they worked with the fire department there, and had a cooling center. A couple people showed up. I don't think a whole lot did, but so it was good for them to open it up. I'm not sure they'll do it again. We'll see next summer. I guess they'll talk about that and see if it's worthwhile, but I'm glad they made it open to the public. In school district news, last Tuesday was the first day of school. Not a whole lot to report there. And Canby Area Transit, I don't have anything there. Other things, yeah, the Heritage Trail unveiling. It's been a while since we've met, but that was a big deal in early August, so it was nice to see the mayor speak and Carol Palmer. So now we have our big Heritage Trail. There's plaques, I think they're around town, right? Council Park, are they up?
We've got the one up at Wade Park, and the others we're scheduling.
They're coming, okay. So there'll be a walking tour soon, which will be fun. And the chamber lunch in there, that kicked off the fair. That was interesting. Several of us were there. We heard the rodeo president speak about the upcoming contestants, and that was a fun time. Hope Village had something called Bluegrass and Blueberries. It was a concert back in August. I'd never heard of it, but it was really well attended. Like 200 people came to 2 shows, so like 400 senior citizens were there listening to music. It was really fun. I volunteered. I served pie, so that was interesting. I went to a Bridging Cultures picnic in mid-August. The Kitty Caper Parade was quite a hit this year. In order for the kids to get in free this year, they had to be in the parade. I think that was the case, whereas in the past, every Tuesday, all the kids get in, but this time you had to be in the parade to get in as a free kid. And so there were more kids that participated, but I was a volunteer greeter. It was fun. That was a fun afternoon, or fun morning. And then the junk refund was tremendous. There's just so many things that have happened in the last month. It's incredible. But I know that I think First Avenue, the Main Street folks were delighted by that turnout, hot as it was that day. Big night out. Yeah, I worked for the Friends of the Library. We gave out free books to the kids. That was good outreach. And then I got to tour the new library with the Kiwanis. As a card-carrying member of the Kiwanis, I got in on that tour last week. So I'm so excited. We're going to love it. Everyone's going to love the new library. So with that, I'm done.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilor Coleman.
Mr. Mayor, on the liaison front, just like to give a big thank you to the Traffic Safety Committee members for their hard work and dedication toward keeping our streets safe for everyone to enjoy. I'd like to thank our city manager for all the hard work he's done to help our efforts. Very much appreciated. And also our police chief and fire chief as well, and how their willingness to help our group and our efforts, and especially dedicated traffic officer Nolan Booth, who attends our meetings regularly, and we can share ideas on improving traffic safety. And a special thank you to Public Works for their recent crosswalk work. We have our own striping device, which allows us to stripe crosswalks and things, and they've done a really good job to improve safety. And also the new sidewalks on Cedar Street. So there's lots of good safety items going on, and thank you again to the group. Our next meeting is this next Monday, the 12th at 8:30 a.m. at Public Works. And on the Planning Commission front, also another group of dedicated individuals. Appreciate everything they do for our community, and with all the growth that's going on, they've been busy poring over a lot of different projects. In fact, at the last Planning Commission meeting, there was an application by Darren Monin for 2 triplexes for the location on Township. The meeting was very well attended, lots of lively citizen input, and it was approved, and it was not appealed, so that has moved down the tracks. On the Scott project, which is next to the Burgerville, groundbreaking is going to be underway, if it hasn't already started, and that complex will house a T-Mobile, Pizza Schmizza, and a Jimmy John's, and completion is expected next spring. On the heels of the Canby Big Night Out, I got to attend that. That was a lot of fun, awfully hot. And I've had the good fortune of being a car show judge for the last 5 years for Canby's Cut Sports Cruise-In. And the previous record set a few years ago was 630 cars, and this year we had over 650. And the largest entrant, or the largest farthest away entrant, was from Kansas City.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was lots of fun. Weather was perfect, and I think that Canby Night Out really sets the pace for that, brings a lot of people, because, you know, it's talked about what's going on in the weekend, and I don't know the results of the run. Do any of you know about that, the Dahlia Run?
Yes, they, from what I understand, they had over 600 people participate in the run, and the three organizations that the Canby Dahlia Run is purely about, it's a nonprofit organization that then divvies the entrance fees out to other nonprofits in Canby. And so the three that they're giving funds to were Wilderness International, Operation Snuggle, and Sparks of Hope. And so, yeah, they had two runners that were from out of the country that came and ran in the Dahlia Run. So yeah, it was a huge turnout for that. Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Yes.
I have a quick question for the self-appointed unofficial liaison to the fair.
Sure.
Councilor Dale, do we have any numbers from Lori about attendance and such from the fair this year yet?
I don't have any from Lori yet. I usually give her about a month and then I ask when she has it. Although talking to a number of vendors, they said their sales ranged anywhere from 30% to 50% of normal. The hot days were really devastating.
Yeah, I was afraid of that.
It was awful.
I'm working it myself every day. I wondered. I was fearing that, but no.
The vendor I helped was on the lower end. It was a tough time to be a vendor.
Yeah.
We're hoping to miss that heat this year.
Yeah.
Of course, it fell on Fair Week, so.
Yeah. It was a hot week.
Mr. Robinson, question for you about library and books. So I was reading an article about another library, not here in Oregon, that when they were opening a new facility, they encouraged many of the library patrons to check out as many books as they wanted out of the current library to then take home and read and enjoy and then return them to the new library, which then resulted in helping staff move books.
Free reading.
And I know that we have a 40-book limit.
40.
And my children push that 40, let me tell you. It's true. And I know many of you others here have checked out that many books as well. Is that something that maybe we could raise the cap on that? I know Irina stepped out.
Irina stepped out.
I know.
Great question. It's an interesting question. There are opportunities and there are challenges associated with increasing that number. The challenge is if they don't get returned as soon as the library reopens, then you have a period of time during which you don't have as many books as you would like to check out, particularly in the early weeks after the new building. The other concern that I would have is that all of those books have to come back, and instead of paid movers taking them from this shelf and putting them on this shelf, you have library staff who have mounds and mounds of books that they have to sort through by category and place on the appropriate shelf. So I think you get a benefit, but you also have a downside to it. And from my perspective, since we've already hired the movers, that the benefit that would be afforded our employees at the library would outweigh the benefit to the moving company.
Don't you hate it when it makes sense?
Well, and that's why he's there and we're over here. So we come up with the...
Usually that's my
I know.
role, is coming up with the unusable ideas.
That was more of an interesting, it seemed to work. It must have been a smaller library than ours.
It's not a bad idea if you were in a community, an organization that wasn't pretty well organized for the move.
There we go.
Then it works. And if you don't have, we have over 50,000 books, and so can you imagine the library patrons bringing back 50,000 books and library staff having to sort through them?
Point well taken. I'm sure that the scouts here would gladly show up and volunteer.
Community service.
How is your Dewey Decimal System, gentlemen? Is it good? Do you know the Dewey Decimal System? Oh, I'm seeing head nods. That's good. All right.
Well, Mayor, it was about 25 years ago now, but one of the Portland library branches was moving down the street, and they gave a scout troop $1,000, and for a block and a half, had scouts lined up and did a bucket brigade.
You could do that.
And moved, I believe it was about 60,000 books a day.
You could do that.
You should get 1,000 and just do that down the street for pictures.
That would actually be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
You really would.
Books through Canby.
Yeah.
There we go.
That would be pretty neat. Irene would be pulling her hair out.
Watching it all happen.
Yeah, I don't think she needs our help doing this.
Yes. All right. Perfect. We will move on. Mr. Savory, are you here in the audience still?
I am.
Would you like to wait until the end with the next opportunity for citizen input, or would you like me to rewind and give you the opportunity to speak now? I figured you might want to take now instead of later.
My name is John Savory. I live at 980 Northwest 22nd Canby, 97013. And there were two things I wanted to spend a couple of minutes on. First thing is that as you were handing out awards and things like that, it occurred to me that September 27th, I believe it is, September 27th is National First Responders Day for Appreciation Day. And so I thought you might want to make note of that so that we can honor our police and fire folks here in Canby. I don't know if you had anything planned, but hoorah, let's get them going. And the second thing is, I wanted to, there's been a lot of talk about the Civic Center that also has the library, and I would like to thank the counselors that were on the City Council at that time for all the hard work and dedication that you put forth in getting this before the vote of the people, number one, which was very important. You got a lot of community support for that. And then actually getting out and campaigning for making the council's presence known. I'd also like to make special note for Councilor Todd Rocha, who was instrumental in saving about $5 million on this project, and of taxpayer money that would have gone with urban renewal dollars, but and taken away that same money from school or from fire and police. So I'd like to thank Councilor Rocha in particular for that, but the council as a whole for all the hard work you did in getting the Civic Center up and going. So thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Mr. Savory. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a tremendously a number of people and a tremendous effort for many, many months, and it was just down there today, just walking the building front, and just it's very impressive. So I think we should be, as a council, previous councils, and the city should be very proud of the building that's going up. So yeah, it's going to be a big deal. So thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we'll move into the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the minutes of the August 3rd, 2016 City Council work session and regular meeting, and the appointment of Pam Judy to the Historic Review Board for a term to end on June 30th, 2017.
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Council President Dale and seconded by Councilor Hensley to approve the consent agenda, which includes the adoption of the minutes of the August 3rd, 2016 City Council work session and regular meeting, and appointment of Pam Judy to the Historic Review Board for a term to end on June 30th, 2017. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 6-0, and I understand that Ms. Judy is here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for signing up and participating on one of our wonderful committees that help us do what we do up here. So thank you for doing that.
Impressive resume, too.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining.
very much so. Would you like to? No? Okay. Want to give you the opportunity, but thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing this evening. Tonight's public hearing is the transfer of public property ownership from the City of Canby to the Canby Urban Renewal Agency for a couple of pieces of property. And so I get to read our lovely format for that. So the matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. If you wish to testify on this matter, please fill out a yellow comment card and give to the city recorder. At the appropriate time, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and interest in the matter. Those people that are interested in testifying as either proponents or opponents, please indicate your desire to speak by raising your hands at this time. Okay, not seeing none. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. All questions must be directed through the mayor. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. The public hearing will be conducted as follows. We will get a staff report. Questions, if any, by the hearing body or staff. Then we will open public hearing for testimony. Proponents will have not more than 3 minutes. Opponents, not more than 3 minutes. I will then close the public hearing. There will be questions, if any, by the hearing body, and then there will be discussion by the hearing body. A decision shall be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of that date that you will receive. Does anyone have any questions about the procedures? No? Joe, I'm going to put you on the spot to begin with.
Okay.
For the viewing audience and those in attendance here, you give a brief breakdown on why this is a hearing and a legislative process.
Well, this is basically the city's going to be making some findings. If they find that it is the case that the land itself is better used, if it's surplus once we move to the new civic building and library, leaving all sorts of arguably blighted areas remaining empty and fallow and sitting there, and there is a opportunity for the Urban Renewal Agency to better use it than the city might. And so the idea is that Urban Renewal Agency is set up to kind of stamp out blight and to follow its list of projects to try to better the downtown area. And so the opportunity is there if the city finds that the city no longer needs these properties and that the best use for its constituency, which is the city electors, to go ahead and gift over, or sell over the property so that the Urban Renewal Agency can then use it.
Perfect.
I hope that answers the question.
It does.
Okay.
Again, just, trying to get a large audience this evening on another matter, but with the scouts here as well, just again, we serve as a couple of different pieces, and when we make decisions that sometimes require of a legislative nature, where we're doing what we're doing this evening, that's why we have to read that piece there so that everyone understands that we're in a certain format and that we're kind of same hat, but we're putting some very strong parameters around what we're doing this evening. So, and as our city attorney has explained, we're moving some properties around. So,
and it gives people, I guess any public hearing gives people the opportunity. It's transparency, but it also actually gives people the opportunity to come in and be heard before a decision is made by the city council.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. With that, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The public hearing today is to consider the transfer of 5 properties in the downtown core, which also are within the urban renewal boundaries, from the city of Canby to the Canby's urban renewal district. The 5 properties are located at 111 Northwest 2nd Avenue, that is known as our planning department, 122 North Holly, which is the old police department, 133 Northwest 2nd Avenue, which is the finance department. The 133 Northwest 2nd Avenue below that is the old transit parking lot. And then finally, 182 North Holly is City Hall. All of these properties will be vacated when we relocate from where we currently conduct business to our new civic building. One of the discussions that we have had ongoing for about 1.5 years now is the ultimate disposition of the property once we vacate it. And you authorized and we conducted an RFEI, a request for expressions of interest, on this property about 1.5 years ago, and have continued to work on developing potential solutions for the ultimate build-out of this property into something that can really, really benefit this community. Before you tonight is a pretty straightforward question, and which is, can the community's interest be best served if the property transaction and the ongoing development of this property is administered through the city or through the urban renewal agencies? Staff recommendation is that because the urban renewal agency has certain taxing authority, has certain discretion, and has other authorities granted to it by the Oregon State Legislature, that the better and best, in fact, option available to the city is to transfer this property to the Urban Renewal Agency. And what this would be doing would be offering the property to the Urban Renewal Agency. If you approve that, we would be bringing back to you a separate action item in 2 weeks that would ultimately, if the Urban Renewal Agency, which is the same body, accepts the property, would initiate and finalize the transfer of property between the city to the Urban Renewal Agency. The property that I have identified to you is valued at just over $1.8 million. And that's based on a combination of appraisals and some estimates based on what properties have been selling for in the area. The proposal is to transfer the property for a fee of $200 plus all of the value added associated with the development of this project into what we hope will ultimately be a mixed-use development that will include both commercial, retail, restaurant, and upper floor housing. And so this is our goal and our vision as the city, and it is actually the charter of the Urban Renewal Agency to pursue these types of projects and programs. And so staff recommendation is to, once you've taken testimony, I've answered all your questions, to approve as requested the authorization to transfer the properties.
Great. Thank you, sir. Any questions?
And just to close the loop then, Rick, after the Urban Renewal Agency completes the project, we expect that it will then transfer all the properties or its interest in them back to the city of Canby?
No, once the project is done, if we're successful, the properties would actually be in a private developer's ownership. So the project that we are envisioning on this $1.8 million of asset, it really is approaching about $15 million. So there's a tremendous both economic advantage and advantage from a perspective of downtown development in developing a public-private partnership, the public side being the Urban Renewal Agency, the private side being a private developer once we enter into an agreement with that developer. But the outcome would be that the properties would transfer to the developer and return to the tax roll. Currently, none of those properties are on the tax roll.
Okay, so there doesn't have to be a transfer necessary in order for the city to enjoy the property taxes?
No.
Okay, very good.
Councilor Height?
Yeah, just, why $200? I was curious why that amount. Is it like a token amount?
It's a token amount.
Okay.
Yeah. In order for an actual transfer, it's nice to have an actual consideration, so that it doesn't seem like a sham contract.
Okay.
So you have to have offer and acceptance, and there has to be some sort of consideration, and that's the legal term for the stuff that you're selling or exchanging.
And to make sure I understand, so in a nutshell, the Urban Renewal Agency, it's simpler if we funnel it that direction, and it saves money too?
Well, the Urban Renewal Agency has access to resources that the city does not. Okay. And that access to the resources could make a project successful that has no possibility of being successful if the city was the coordinator, because we don't have access to those types of resources.
As well as the mandate to stamp out blight.
As well as the mandate to stamp out blight. Well, that's the underlying objective through the creation of the Urban Renewal Agency in the first instance. So that being the kind of the underpinning for everything that happens, that and I guess to take from Joe's lead here, because he's directing me sort of in a direction. The overarching objective to stamp out blight can better be administered through the Urban Renewal Agency with the expanded toolbox they have available to them than it can through the city with the minimal toolbox it has available. If the city retained the property, our only realistic option would be to sell each piece of property outright. It would obviously go back on the tax rolls, but you're looking at the potential of $1.8 million versus $15 million of taxable value in the exact same footprint.
Councilor Parker?
Well, I'm imagining these poor scouts sitting here trying to figure out what sort of mumbo-jumbo we've just been talking about for the last 10 minutes, so let me give it a shot. So the city of Canby owns most of the block that we're on, is that right? And we're going through the paperwork to transfer that to another government entity, the Urban Renewal District, of which we are the directors, in order for the Urban Renewal District to then sell the property and return it to the tax rolls, because currently most of this block is city-owned, tax-exempt, and the goal, both Councilor Hensley and I agreed upon when we began on the new project with the Civic Center and the library, is what do we do with this block, and we wanted it to return to the tax rolls. So this is a means to an end.
It's a lot of red tape.
And the end that we are attempting to attain is the elimination of blight through the Urban Renewal Agency.
Thank you. You guys got that fun down?
Blight is ugly stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Blight is bad.
Councilor Coleman.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add, I really like the process that we went through on this, where the expressions of interest were put out there. We had a lot of different professionals that have a lot of experience in this come forward with what their best case scenario was. And I think one of the things that makes us all very nervous is the idea of having 5 empty buildings with no well-thought-out plan to really get these working. And, that's a big concern of mine, and I really feel comfortable with the process that we've gone through. We've gone through a lot of steps. We've heard a lot of different presentations. There's a lot of time and energy and thought that's gone into this. And rather than trying to sell it off in pieces and hope for the best, we're really trying to strive toward creating a vision and executing that vision, and I'm very comfortable with this.
You have one opportunity in a generation of eliminating blight on this block.
Rick, we've gone through a number of steps to get our city hall on historical designation and whatnot. Well, now, with that transferring from city to agency, urban renewal agency, and then agency putting that into the project that we're talking about, that will retain the historical significance that we've been able to get for it, and therefore the